and controls the Y bar. So like your height usually corresponds to your wingspan, right? Do y'all know what your wingspan is? It's this. So really short people don't have giant long arms. That would be weird, right? Okay. What else could be bivariate data? What about shoe size and height? Do those two things correlate? Usually. You don't have short people with giant feet. We're not clowns. There are going to be some anomalies, but like generally speaking, guys, like for the majority of us, our height corresponds with our shoe size. What about the amount of fast food you eat and your cholesterol? Yes, because the more fast food you eat, the quicker you are to death. Just throwing that out there, okay? So we have three different types. We have a positive correlation, a negative correlation, and a no correlation. So when you look at graphs, and a scatter plot looks like, well, that's what we're talking about today is scatter plots. So let's write that at the top. Scatter plots. Scatter plots are bivariate data. And scatter plots mean you have a bunch of dots scattered across a graph. And sometimes they have a relationship, sometimes they don't have a relationship. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, and sometimes it's chaos. So with a positive correlation, as x increases, what do you think is going to happen to y? I'm sorry, I don't know what we're muttering. Increases. Okay, any questions so far? Yes, no, maybe so? Okay, so let's open our Flappy and talk about what that's going to look like. So a weak positive correlation, you have your x-axis and your y-axis. And what it could potentially look like is if you have a bunch of dots,
Do we have to make this here?
like this. Yeah. So that's kind of increasing, right? But you could have some down here. But it's generally increasing. That's a weak one. What do you think a moderate one would look like? A little closer together? So like if I have, this is our x, this is our y. That's a little better, right? What do you think a strong one would look like?
Almost in a line.
Yeah, look at you go. Take a point for interacting and paying attention. So a strong correlation would be, without a shadow of a doubt, it's positive. They're close together. You can definitely tell it's increasing. It can be scattered everywhere. Ta-da, that's a scatter plot. Isn't it amazing? And you use this to plot data. One year, my classes they had to ask different people different things. So like, they came up with their own stuff, and somebody was like, how many siblings you have versus how many pets you have. And most people who had more siblings had less pets versus more pets with no siblings. But then we had a weird person who had like 10 siblings and 12 donkeys or something. So,
I have 9 siblings, and the most pets I've had at one time is 7.
That's too many creatures.
I don't believe that.
That's too many creatures. All right, ready to talk about negative correlation? Again, there are always going to be those weird outliers. I have a headache. We all have something. Let's do math. All right, so a negative correlation. As x increases, what do you think y is going to do? Decrease. Look at you go. Take a point. You're welcome. All right, so a negative correlation, as x increases, y decreases, so it's going down. I want you to draw your your weak, moderate, and strong scatter plots without me. You can do it. Draw your weak, strong, and moderate scatter plots without me. And hopefully you also have your half sheet, because you're going to need that. We are drawing our weak, moderate, and strong negative correlation. Yes, you have to add the middle term. Middle two terms. Ah. Does yours look similar to mine?
Yes.
All right. So what do you think no correlation would mean? The dots are everywhere. So as x increases, y does whatever it wants, is basically what happens. So a null correlation, as x increases, y is in chaos. He's not really in chaos, but he just does whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder if these are going to fit. Yeah, they should.
The all know be my game.
Alright, so your scatter plot for your no correlation will just be a bunch of dots. Now, what we're going to do, feel free to keep talking while I'm trying to teach, that's fine. What we're going to do with the little strips that we cut out, I was being sarcastic, Jackson.
What?
What we're going to do with the little half strips is we are going to figure out if they are a positive, negative, or no correlation. And then we're going to glue them in. We should have enough room to glue them on the left side of our flappy. Is everybody ready? No? Okay. It's beautiful. I don't know what more you need from me than it's beautiful. Alright, so I want to start with a person's height and a person's age. So whenever you have that cut out, Elmer, do you need scissors?
I thought I owned
All right. Do you think a person's height versus a person's age is a positive, negative, or no correlation? As you get older, do you get taller? That's a positive correlation. So we're going to glue that in the positive flappy. Does everybody understand what's happening now? Okay. Hours of studying versus grades. Positive, negative, or no correlation? Positive. Thank all the gods. No. But you can. They'll need that later. That table will. All right, distance traveled versus amount of gas in the car. So the more distance you travel, the more gas you have? Negative. Okay. We have been inside vehicles before. Hours in the mall versus the amount of money spent. Then you shouldn't go to the mall. Those are weird people. Read a book. Okay, so generally speaking, the more time you spend in the mall, the more money you spend. So is this positive, negative, or no? Positive. And remember, you can have those outliers, but generally speaking, we're thinking about what this is going to look like on a graph. Some people just hang out in the mall. What year is this that y'all hang out in a mall? Read a book. Watch a TV show.
But if you want to see your friends, you can't just get together and read a book.
Yes, you can. Those are called book clubs. All right, number of pets a person has versus and number of books a person has read. Are those two relevant to each other? So that's a no correlation. Because I have lots of pets and read lots of books, but some of you may have no pets and not read, and you live sad lives. Alright, number of days absent from school versus your math grade. So the more days you're absent, what happens to your math grade? It goes down, so that's a negative correlation. Some of my students in other classes can attest to that. I wasn't talking about you. You're here every day. I see you all the time.
I know.
Like,
I'm here all the time, and I'm still like,
you are such a liar.
last year.
You're such a. Please ignore her. She had like a B in my class. All right, test scores versus shoe sizes. No correlation. Who said that? Take a point. All right. Generally speaking, education and income.
Positive.
Positive. Unless you're my dad and you own your own business. And he didn't go to college. Because he was poor. How tall a person is and how fast they drive. No correlation.
Well, unless like you're too tall and you can't fit in the car.
Get a bigger car.
So like your leg goes all the way and it pushes the gas.
That is not how that works. That is not how that works. That's like, I don't even have weight on a skateboard versus speed on a skateboard. So the more you weigh and you're on a skateboard, does the skateboard go faster or slower? Slower, because they can't roll. I'm sorry. Ignore me. On that one, at least. All right, temperature and the number of people wearing jackets. So as X increases, as the temperature increases, more people are wearing jackets.
Oh, wait, just kidding.
Increases.
As the temperature increases, so this is a negative, yeah. As temperature increases, there are fewer people wearing jackets. But that is an easy one to get confused on. I
I
understand.
wasn't confused on that one.
How do we feel? That's scatter plots. Say it to me again. Yeah. Alright, so that's negative and no, and then I'll move it back up so you can have positive, okay? Alright, so this one's negative, this is no correlation, and I'll move it back up so you can have positive. After I pass out your project.
If we did this project last
No. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose a fast food restaurant and find the nutrition facts for the fast food restaurant. You're going to pick 15 menu items. These items should be food items. Do not pick the ketchup packet.
Oh,
Oh, I can't. We can. Okay. Anyway, but it is the baby talking on like that. I can't. All right. Fill in the following table for your 15 menu items. Be sure that you are recording the total calories and the total grams of fat. Okay? Does everybody understand? So you're going to list what it is here, like chicken fingers. And then the total calories of the chicken fingers and the total fat. Now let's turn it over to the back. You will create a scatter plot that compares the total fat grams on the x-axis. Let's highlight that. The total fat grams go on the x-axis. That way we know what goes on what axis. Because if you mess it up, I will be upset. And the calories go on the y-axis. Because we're going to see if fat controls calories. Alright, this scatter plot should be completed on a full piece of graph paper. Your scale should be chosen appropriately and should be consistent throughout the entire graph. Your axes should be properly labeled. And your scatter plot should have a title. Your title cannot be McDonald's or Burger King. Like, remember when we labeled our graphs when we did those LTF things and we were like, money versus whatever for Jan or whatever her name was? You need to be specific in your title. Do not connect the points of a scatter plot. Do not connect the points of a scatter plot. Alright, you will make a conclusion about the correlation between the total grams of fat and the total calories of the restaurant menu items based on your scatter plot. If there is a correlation, a lineup... ignore that. We're not doing that right now. Be specific about the type of correlation, positive, negative, or no, as well as whether it's a high or low, so a strong or weak. You need to use complete sentences, and you need to use more than 2 sentences. So if you need to make a note that tells you that you need to use complete sentences and more than 2, then make that note. But I expect you to be detailed and justify your answer. Does everybody understand? All right. This assignment will be graded based on the attached rubric. You will submit the table, scatter plot, and conclusion. You may be as creative with the final presentation as you want. So you can do it on a poster board. You can do it however you want to. But you must turn this in. Because this is what I'm going to grade on. Does everybody understand?
So you can do conclusion on this or on poster?
Either. I would write it on here first, though. As like a rough draft, a guide to what you should do. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, do you want to go ahead and get started? Let's go ahead and get started because we have 15 minutes left in class and we need to do something besides just sit there. So I want you to get started. I want you to find your restaurant. You can't do the same restaurant as the people at your table. So just go ahead and tell me now.